Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt completely in control of your mind? Not distracted, not scattered, but clear, focused, and alive. Most people go through life thinking they're tired, unmotivated, or lazy. That's not the truth. You're not broken. Your brain is simply overloaded and undertrained. Every second, your mind is processing over 70,000 thoughts. And yet, only a handful of those thoughts are intentional. The rest, they're automatic, recycled emotions, fears, and habits from your past. You can't create a powerful future when your brain is trapped in yesterday's wiring. But here's the truth that changes everything. You can rewire your brain. You can literally reshape how you think, how you feel, how you perform in just 12 minutes a day. Neuroscientists have proven it. Your brain is plastic. That means it's moldable, adaptable, trainable at any age. Once you learn how to activate that power, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Imagine starting each day with unshakable focus. Imagine feeling emotionally bulletproof. Imagine being so clear and present that stress doesn't control you. You control it. That's what this 12-minute habit does. It's simple. It's backed by science, and it can completely transform the quality of your life. If you give me just the next few minutes of your attention, because by the end of this talk, you'll walk away knowing exactly how to unlock the full power of your brain. And once you do, nothing will ever feel impossible again. Let's talk about something most people never realize. Your brain is the command center of your destiny. Every emotion you feel, every choice you make, every action you take, they all begin inside that 3-pound universe between your ears. The quality of your life is nothing more than the quality of how your brain operates moment to moment. And yet, most people spend their whole life trying to fix the outside, their job, their relationships, their routines, without ever mastering the one thing that controls it all, the mind itself. You see, your brain is like a supercomputer. It's built to serve you, to help you create, to protect you, to make sense of the world. But here's the problem. Most people are running outdated software. They're living on autopilot, using old emotional patterns, old beliefs, stories that were written years ago, maybe even decades ago, and they wonder why they feel stuck, stressed, or unfulfilled. You can't create a powerful life when your brain is still wired for survival instead of growth. Every single breakthrough you've ever had, every time you felt unstoppable, every time you said, I can do this, it wasn't luck. It was your brain operating in a peak state, focused, energized, fully alive. And the best part, you can create that state on demand. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need to wait for the perfect day. You just need to learn how to activate it. And that's what this is all about. Most people never train their brain deliberately. They train their body, they chase fitness, they chase productivity, but they neglect the one system that runs everything. Think about it. If your brain is foggy, your body doesn't perform. If your brain is tired, your emotions spiral. If your brain is stressed, your decisions get smaller. But when your brain is sharp, focused, and centered, everything expands. You start to see solutions where others see problems. You start to take action where others freeze. You start to lead, to create, because you've tapped into the source of all your power. Science now confirms what we've always known intuitively. Your thoughts literally shape your brain. Every single thought you repeat creates a neural pathway. It's like carving grooves into your mind. The more you think something, whether it's empowering or disempowering, the stronger that pattern becomes. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm not enough, your brain gets better at believing it. If you train your brain to focus on what you control, what you can create, and who you can become, those are the circuits that get stronger. And that's where this 12-minute habit becomes life-changing. In just 12 minutes of focused mental conditioning, you can start to shift the structure of your brain. Literally, you can activate new circuits for focus, clarity, and confidence. You can reprogram the command center to serve your highest vision instead of your fears. This isn't wishful thinking, it's neuroscience. But here's the truth, your brain doesn't change by hearing information. It changes through repetition and emotion. Every time you engage emotionally with a new thought, a new belief, a new habit, your brain releases neurochemicals that wire that experience into memory. That's how transformation happens, not through inspiration alone, but through emotionally charged repetition. So when you give your brain 12 intentional minutes a day, you're not just meditating or journaling, you're sculpting your destiny at the neurological level. I've met people who say, I just can't focus, or I'm too old to change. And I tell them that's not true. You're missing is an ability, it's training. Your brain doesn't get weaker with age, it gets lazier with disuse. But the moment you start challenging it with focus, visualization, gratitude, intentional breathing, it starts firing again. You'll literally wake up parts of yourself that have been asleep for years. And that's when life starts to feel different. You think faster, you feel lighter, you stop reacting, and you start creating. Your brain gets into that peak state, everything changes. You stop fighting your emotions and start leading them. You stop doubting your worth and start seeing your potential. You stop chasing external motivation because you found internal power. The truth is, most people live as passengers in their own minds, letting thoughts, fears, and distractions drive the car. But you're meant to be the driver. You're meant to hold the wheel, set the direction, accelerate toward the life you were built for. The moment you understand that your brain isn't who you are, it's a tool you control, you step into freedom. You stop identifying with anxiety, with procrastination, with limitation. You realize those are just programs, and any program can be written. That's what these 12 minutes are for, to stop the noise and remind your brain who's really in charge. This is where true power begins, not with doing more, with mastering your inner world. Because once you own your mind, you own your life. And when your brain is in alignment with your vision, there is nothing on earth that can stop you. Let's talk about focus, because focus is power. Whatever you focus on expands. Most people don't lose energy because they're lazy or unmotivated. They lose it because their attention is fractured, scattered in 1,000 different directions. They wake up, grab their phone, and instantly the brain is hijacked. Notifications, messages, news, comparison. It's like mental junk food, and the brain keeps consuming it until it's exhausted. And then people wonder why they feel foggy, anxious, and unfocused halfway through the day. It's not that they're broken. It's that their mind is starving for clarity. Your brain is designed to focus deeply, but in this world of constant noise, it's forgotten how. The prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain responsible for discipline, creativity, and decision-making, thrives on stillness, not chaos. Every distraction pulls energy away from it. Every dopamine hit from scrolling or multitasking weakens its signal. Think about that. Every time you react instead of being intentional, you're training your brain to lose control. But the opposite is also true. When you practice focus, even for a few minutes a day, you strengthen that muscle. You train your brain to listen to you, to obey you, to serve your purpose. Focus isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. It's a skill, it's a pattern. And like any muscle, it grows with use. That's why this 12-minute habit is so powerful. It's a daily practice of taking your brain off autopilot and saying, I decide what matters, I decide where my energy goes. The moment you start doing that, your life begins to shift, because where focus goes, energy flows. If you focus on problems, you feel stuck. If you focus on what's missing, you feel powerless. But when you focus on possibilities, on gratitude, on progress, suddenly your brain lights up with energy, clarity, and motivation. There's actual science behind this. You focus on something positive or purposeful, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good chemicals that fuel confidence and drive. But when you focus on fear, stress, or comparison, you release cortisol, stress hormone that shuts down creativity and drains energy. So in every moment, you're literally shaping the chemistry of your brain by what you choose to focus on. You're either wiring it for power or wiring it for pain. That's why I always tell people, be intentional with what you feed your mind. If you start your day with chaos, you invite chaos into your life. If you start your day with gratitude, vision, and calm, you set the tone for everything else. Your focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you point at intensifies. Point it at your fear and it grows. Point it at your goals, your growth, your purpose. And that's what comes alive. Most people are unaware of how much their focus is stolen every single day. Their attention is being auctioned to social media, to advertisers, to negativity. Every time you give in to distraction, you lose a piece of your presence. You lose that sharpness, that sense of being fully alive in the moment. And here's the thing, your brain can't multitask. It switches rapidly between tasks, and that switching costs energy. Studies show that constant switching lowers IQ temporarily and doubles error rates. So when you think you're multitasking, what you're really doing is draining your mental battery. Now imagine this: instead of waking up and reacting, you take 12 minutes to command your focus. You close your eyes, you breathe. You visualize your goals, you feel gratitude for what you already have. In that short time, you shift your brain from survival mode to creation mode. You tell your nervous system, safe, I'm clear, I'm in control. That's when your prefrontal cortex lights up. That's when creativity returns. That's when your decision making becomes powerful again. This is how elite performers, world-class athletes, visionary leaders operate. They don't have more time. They have more clarity. They know what deserves their energy and what doesn't. They protect their focus like a treasure because they understand that focus determines destiny. You have that same ability. You have the power to train your brain to focus like a laser, but it starts with awareness, catching yourself when you drift, when you scroll, when you react, and pulling your attention back to what truly matters. Each time you do, you're rewiring your brain to obey your intention instead of your impulse. That's mastery. The beautiful part is that this transformation doesn't take hours. It takes moments of consistency. 12 minutes a day is enough to remind your brain that you're the one in charge, that your life isn't defined by distractions, but by direction, that your attention is sacred, and wherever you place it, that's where your future grows. Choose wisely, choose deliberately. Don't let the world decide what fills your mind, you decide. Because the truth is, what you feed your mind becomes your reality. Your focus creates your feelings create your actions shape your destiny. Guard your focus, and you'll unlock the full power of your mind. Most people don't realize that the brain is just like a muscle. It responds to training, repetition, and intensity. You can't go to the gym once and expect a transformation, and the same is true for your mind. You have to condition it. You have to feed it, stretch it, challenge it, and most importantly, train it every single day. That's what the 12-minute habit is about. It's not a ritual for perfection. It's a discipline for power. It's about showing up for your mind the way an athlete shows up for their body. When you train your brain, you're not just learning information, you're rewiring identity. You're teaching yourself to operate from intention instead of reaction. See, your brain has two modes. One is the survival brain, the part that's anxious, distracted, and defensive. The other is the creation brain, the part that's focused, calm, and visionary. Most people live their entire lives in survival mode, constantly reacting to stress, noise, and fear. But the moment you train your brain through focused practice, even for 12 minutes a day, you shift from surviving to creating. Think about that for a second. Every day, your mind is being trained. The question is, by what? If you start your morning scrolling through social media, you're training your brain for distraction. If you start your day rushing, worrying, and reacting, you're training it for anxiety. But when you dedicate just 12 minutes to intention, to stillness, gratitude, focus, you're teaching your brain to operate in alignment with who you want to be, not what the world demands you to be. That 12 minutes isn't random. It's enough time to reset the nervous system, calm the fight or flight response, activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus, vision, and discipline. It's long enough to create measurable changes in brain activity, but short enough to be sustainable. This isn't about meditation or motivation. It's mental conditioning. It's the conscious act of sculpting your mind to perform at its peak. When you start doing it consistently, something amazing happens. Your baseline changes. You become less reactive, more centered. The noise doesn't control you anymore. You start to respond to life instead of reacting to it. You walk into challenges with clarity instead of chaos. You start to see patterns where you used to see problems. That's the power of repetition. That's how real transformation begins. Not overnight, but through daily alignment. Here's the truth. Change doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. You can't change your life in one massive push. You change it by showing up daily for 12 minutes that matter. The compound effect of that time is enormous. 12 minutes today might calm your stress. 12 minutes tomorrow might sharpen your focus. 12 minutes every day for a month can rewire your brain's default settings entirely. That's not motivation, that's biology. And during those 12 minutes, you're not just sitting still. You're engaging your brain with purpose. You might begin with a few deep, conscious breaths to regulate your state. Then you visualize not random dreams, but the kind of person you're becoming. You feel gratitude, not as a word, but as an emotion that rewires your chemistry. You do that, dopamine and serotonin flood your system. You're not only changing your mindset, you're changing your biochemistry. You're setting the tone for the entire day. Your mind is the operating system of your life. If you don't program it intentionally, it will run old code. The 12-minute habit is your chance to update the system every single day, to delete fear-based thoughts, to install patterns of clarity, courage, and confidence. The moment you commit to it, taking back control from years of mental conditioning that were never your choice. You're saying, I'm not going to let my environment train me. I'm going to train myself. When you do, life starts to mirror that internal strength. Decisions become easier because your mind is clear. Opportunities appear because your focus is sharp. Relationships deepen because you're present. And perhaps most importantly, stress doesn't own you anymore. You own your state. Because when your brain is trained, nothing external can shake your internal balance. There will be days you don't feel like doing it. There will be mornings you're tired, distracted, or in a hurry. But those are the days that matter the most. Because every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're wiring your brain for strength. Every time you say, I'll give myself these 12 minutes no matter what, you're building the muscle of mental mastery. That's how leaders are made. That's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. This isn't about finding motivation, it's about creating momentum. Momentum comes from movement, from taking action every single day, no matter how small. 12 minutes is small enough to start, but powerful enough to change everything. Because when you stack 12 minutes of focus, 12 minutes of clarity, 12 minutes of intention day after day, it compounds. That's when your brain becomes unstoppable. Once you've trained your brain to obey your intention instead of your impulses, once you've built that inner muscle of focus and calm, you'll realize something profound. Your external world begins to align with your internal state. The chaos quiets. The right people show up. The right ideas flow. Because you're no longer waiting for change. You've become the change. And when you train your brain like a muscle, even 12 minutes a day can turn potential into power. There's a kind of power that most people never experience because they're too busy running from silence. We live in a world that worships noise, constant input, endless scrolling, constant stimulation. We fill every quiet moment with something: music, podcasts, messages, notifications, conversations. And yet what we're really doing is running from ourselves. We've forgotten that stillness isn't emptiness. It's the space where everything begins. When you step into silence intentionally, even for a few minutes, you connect with the deepest part of who you are. You stop reacting to the world and start hearing the quiet wisdom that's been trying to reach you all along. Most people think clarity comes from doing more, from solving, fixing, forcing. But clarity doesn't come from effort. It comes from stillness. You quiet the noise, your brain shifts from survival mode into a state of coherence. Your thoughts begin to settle, your nervous system calms, your breathing deepens. And in that space, something incredible happens. You start to feel centered again. The chaos outside may still exist, but it no longer controls you. You've taken your power back. The 12-minute habit creates that space. It's not about escaping life. It's about creating room within it. When you practice stillness daily, You train your brain to find calm in the middle of movement, peace in the middle of pressure. You stop needing the world to slow down in order for you to feel balanced. You bring the balance with you. That's what true mastery looks like. Brain loves rhythm. It thrives on balance between focus and rest, intensity and recovery. But in our hyper-connected world, the rhythm is gone. Most people spend their entire day in a state of mental overdrive, constantly stimulated, constantly switched on, and wonder why they can't focus, sleep, or think clearly. Your brain isn't broken. It's just overloaded. Stillness is how you reset it. When you slow your breathing, when you sit in silence, your parasympathetic nervous system activates. That's the part of your body responsible for restoration and healing. It's like hitting the reset button for your mind and emotions. And here's what's fascinating. When you give your brain that reset, even for a few minutes, you unlock higher states of thinking. The brain begins producing alpha and theta waves, the same states associated with creativity, insight, and intuition. That's why so many breakthrough ideas come when you're quiet, in the shower, on a walk, or right before sleep. It's not coincidence, it's biology. When you stop chasing thoughts, your mind starts revealing truths. Stillness doesn't mean nothing is happening. Stillness is when the real work begins. It's where your emotions start to surface. The fears, the doubts, the worries you've been suppressing, and that can be uncomfortable, which is why so many people avoid it. But when you sit with those feelings instead of running from them, you begin to heal them. You start to understand that emotions aren't enemies, they're messengers. They're signals pointing to something deeper that needs attention. Stillness gives you access to that inner dialogue, the one that tells you what's real and what's ready to change. There's a saying that you can't see your reflection in disturbed water. The same is true for the mind. You can't see truth in a noisy mind. When you create stillness, the water settles, and suddenly you see clearly. You see what matters. You see what needs to go. You see the next step. That's the power of this daily practice. It's not about meditating for hours. It's about learning to pause long enough to hear your own wisdom. And when you make this a habit, everything changes. Stress no longer defines your days. Challenges don't shake you the way they used to. You start to notice a gap, that powerful pause between stimulus and response, and in that gap, you find freedom. You can feel emotion without being controlled by it. You can face uncertainty without losing peace. You can lead with presence instead of panic. That's the gift stillness gives you, power under pressure. Your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Because now, you know how to return home to that quiet place inside where you're not your thoughts, you're the awareness behind them. And the more you practice returning there, the faster you get at it. Eventually, you don't need total silence. You carry that calm into every conversation, every meeting, every challenge. You stop being tossed around by external chaos because you've anchored yourself internally. This is what the 12-minute habit does. It teaches your brain to operate from clarity instead of chaos. It teaches your heart to stay open even when life gets messy. It brings you back to that grounded, powerful state where you make decisions not out of fear, but out of truth. And from that place, everything you do becomes more intentional. Because when your mind is quiet, you hear your intuition. When your emotions are calm, you find perspective. When your inner world is clear, your outer world begins to align. That's not philosophy. That's experience. You don't have to chase peace anymore. You create it from within. And when you find stillness within yourself, you discover that clarity isn't something you search for. It's something you awaken. 12 minutes. That's all it takes to start transforming your brain, your focus, and your life. It sounds almost too simple, right? Because we've been conditioned to believe that big change requires big effort, hours of grinding, years of struggle, constant sacrifice. But the truth is, transformation isn't about how much time you spend, it's about how intentionally you spend it. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters with complete presence. And when you bring full focus, full emotion, and full energy into even the smallest window of time, the results compound in ways that feel almost miraculous. Your brain doesn't measure transformation in hours. It measures consistency. It measures emotional intensity. It measures the signals you send it every day about what matters. 12 minutes of focused, quality engagement with your mind beats 12 hours of mindless effort. Because in those 12 minutes, you're not reacting, you're rewiring. You're teaching your brain new patterns, new priorities, new possibilities. People underestimate the power of small, consistent actions because they're addicted to quick wins. They want to feel instant progress, so when results don't come overnight, they quit. But that's not how growth works. Real transformation happens beneath the surface invisibly at first, like a seed growing roots before it ever breaks through the soil. Those 12 minutes are your roots. They're where your foundation is built. You might not see the change immediately. Your brain is reorganizing itself one connection at a time. Neuroscience shows that even short, consistent bursts of focus reshape your brain's wiring. The neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you practice presence, every time you focus your attention intentionally, every time you visualize your best self, you're strengthening those neural connections. It's like sculpting clay, a little movement every day, and over time, something beautiful emerges. You have to keep showing up for the process, even when it feels slow. We live in a world obsessed with the idea that more is better, more work, more hours, more hustle. What most people don't realize is that your brain doesn't thrive on overload. It thrives on rhythm. It thrives on intensity followed by recovery. 12 minutes of total focus is worth more than 2 hours of half engaged distraction. It's about being fully alive in the moment. No noise, no multitasking, just you and your mind in sync. That's where creativity happens. That's where clarity is born. Think about your best moments, the times when you felt fully present, deeply connected, totally in flow. In those moments, time didn't matter. You weren't thinking about how long you'd been doing something. You were lost in the experience. That's the state we're talking about. Flow, presence, alignment. The beauty is you can train your brain to enter that state faster and more often. The 12-minute practice is your daily gateway into it. Here's what most people miss. Transformation is not a one-time event. It's a daily decision. It's the accumulation of small choices that seem insignificant in the moment, but build massive momentum over time. 12 minutes of focus may not change your life today, but 12 minutes every day for 30 days, that rewires who you are. Because repetition creates reality. And here's what's even more powerful. The more consistent you are, the less effort it takes. At first, it might feel like work. You have to push past distractions, past resistance, past the urge to skip it. The brain loves habits. Once it learns the pattern, it begins to automate it. What once took willpower becomes natural. And when that happens, those 12 minutes stop feeling like something you should do and start becoming something you crave. A space where you recharge, reset, and remember who you are. It's amazing how quickly your energy changes when you give yourself that kind of presence. Your thoughts become clearer. Your emotions feel lighter. You start to notice beauty, opportunity, connection, things that you used to overlook because your mind was always somewhere else. That's the quiet power of compounding presence. You see, time is not the real currency of transformation. Attention is. You can spend 12 hours doing something distracted and make no progress, or you can spend 12 minutes fully focused and make a breakthrough. It's not about duration, it's about depth. When you give your brain complete, divided attention for even a small window of time, you unlock a level of performance and peace that most people never experience. That's why I say, don't underestimate the small. Small habits, done with intention, become unstoppable forces. Small actions repeated with emotion become permanent change. The brain doesn't need big leaps. It needs consistent cues. Every day you repeat this habit, you're sending your brain the message. This is who I am. Someone who creates space for clarity. I'm someone who chooses focus. I'm someone who leads my mind, not the other way around. And when you stack that kind of energy day after day, it doesn't just improve your focus. It transforms your identity. You stop chasing motivation because you've built momentum. You stop waiting for the perfect time because you realize the perfect time is the one you decide to use with purpose. That's the secret. It's not about time. It's about presence. Because when you give something your full presence, even for 12 minutes, you give it power. You give it life. And when you bring that level of presence into your day, those 12 minutes don't just change your morning, they change everything. Now we arrive at the moment where everything comes together. All the focus, all the stillness, all the training of your mind is leading to one essential truth. You already have everything you need inside you. The potential, the power, the clarity, the strength. It's all there. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is whether you choose to activate it. That's exactly what this 12-minute daily habit does. It doesn't give you more time. It doesn't give you more resources. It gives you access to the person you were always meant to be. Most people go through life feeling like they're waiting for permission, waiting for the right opportunity, the right mentor, the right circumstances. But the truth is, permission is unnecessary. The power is already inside you. Your brain is wired for growth, your mind is wired for greatness, and your emotions are wired for connection and action. The moment you stop looking outside and start activating what's inside, everything shifts. You start to live instead of drift. You start to lead instead of react. You start to create instead of cope. That's why showing up for yourself every single day matters. Those 12 minutes may feel small, but they are the spark that ignites your inner potential. In those minutes, you're not just sitting quietly or focusing your mind. You're consciously deciding who you are. You're choosing to step into your power to become the version of yourself capable of achieving more than you thought possible. Every single day you do it, the habit compounds. It builds identity. It builds resilience. It builds a mind that knows how to operate at a higher level. Think about it. Your thoughts shape your emotions. Your emotions shape your actions. Your actions shape your destiny. When you practice intentional focus, stillness, and gratitude for 12 minutes, you're not just practicing a habit. You're designing your life. You're telling your mind, this is who I am. This is how I operate. This is what matters to me. And your brain, loyal as it is, responds by rewiring itself to support that identity. Here's the thing most people miss: the power doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from clarity of intention. You could spend hours doing things, moving through routines, checking off tasks, and still feel like nothing is changing. That's because the mind hasn't been activated. It hasn't been aligned. It hasn't been intentionally directed. You give yourself 12 minutes of clear, purposeful mental conditioning, the results ripple out in every area of your life. Decisions become easier. Confidence becomes natural, energy becomes abundant, and creativity flows without resistance. You also begin to notice a shift in how you respond to the world. Life is not always easy. Challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties are guaranteed. But when your mind is trained, when your brain is intentionally activated, Challenges no longer define you. They become opportunities to exercise your power, to expand your capacity, and to grow stronger. That's what happens when you learn to lead yourself first, when you cultivate the internal state before trying to fix the external world. And it's not just about handling life better, it's about creating a life that feels purposeful, meaningful, aligned with your deepest values. That 12-minute habit teaches your brain to operate from possibility instead of limitation. It trains your mind to see solutions instead of problems. It reminds your nervous system that you are safe, capable, resourceful, even in the face of uncertainty. That's a game changer. When you consistently activate your brain like this, something remarkable happens. You begin to embody the life you've been chasing. Your identity catches up with your intentions. You stop doubting yourself because your actions and your habits are proof of your capability. You start to trust yourself because your results are evidence that your mind knows what it's doing. You stop waiting for external validation because you've created internal certainty. That's empowerment. That's ownership. That's what it means to truly activate the champion within. And here's the beautiful truth. This is accessible to everyone. You don't need a special talent, a perfect schedule, or ideal circumstances. You just need 12 minutes daily to practice showing up for yourself, to practice activating your mind, to practice stepping fully into who you are. That's all it takes to start living at a higher level, to start operating from your full potential rather than settling for average. Every single day you dedicate those 12 minutes, you are telling yourself and your brain the same message. I am capable. I am powerful. I am awake. I am the leader of my own life. And the more you repeat it, the more your brain believes it, and the more your reality begins to mirror that truth. This is the moment when potential becomes power. This is when intention becomes identity. This is when action becomes unstoppable. And the truth is, the champion you've been waiting for has always been inside you. You just have to choose to wake it up